Birthdays were never a big deal in my house growing up, but I always made them special for everyone else. Balloons taped to the kitchen chairs, pancakes with whipped cream, personalized playlists, and dollar store banners I kept neatly folded in a drawer marked celebrations. This year, I told myself, just this once, I'd make it about me. I cleaned the whole house. Not because I expected guests, but because I hoped my family would notice. That maybe they'd come home and say, "Wow, you didn't have to do all this." And I could smile and say, "It's my birthday. I wanted it to feel nice." By 10 a.m., the windows sparkled. By noon, the laundry was folded and every candle I owned was lit. I made my favorite lemon cake, from scratch. Poured the batter slowly, carefully, into the pan like it might carry the weight of something more than flour and sugar. At 2:47 p.m., my husband Kevin called from the car. "Hey, babe," he said, his voice breezy. "We're out with your sister, just running a quick errand. Don't wait on us for anything." "Is it about my birthday?" I asked, half teasing. "Maybe," he said. "You'll see. Be home soon." And I smiled. Because finally, maybe they were planning something. Something that didn't require me to orchestrate every moment. I lit another candle, put on the dress I hadn't worn in months, took a selfie, then deleted it. Sat down on the edge of the sofa, listening for the sound of a garage door, the thump of shoes dropping in the entryway. But hours passed. No door, no shoes, no family. At 5:12 p.m., I texted Kevin. "Everything okay?" No response. At 6:00, I set the table for 4 anyway. Poured lemonade into the fancy glasses, placed the lemon cake in the center, lit the tall candles I usually saved for holidays, and waited. At 6:47 p.m., my sister posted a photo on Instagram. Her, Kevin, and the kids, smiling in a booth at the Crab Shack. Caption, "Surprising the birthday girl with some family time." I stared at it for a full minute, unsure if I'd misunderstood. Maybe they'd ordered takeout? Maybe they were bringing food back? But 20 minutes later, another post. "Bowling. She's gonna love this next surprise." Only, I wasn't there. The birthday girl wasn't even tagged. I checked my messages. Nothing. I checked the front door. Still locked. I blew out the candles, took off the dress, wrapped the lemon cake in foil and placed it in the fridge, and sat back on the couch, hands folded in my lap like a stranger in my own life. At 9:18 p.m., they finally came home, laughing, carrying paper bags and leftover containers. I stood in the kitchen. Kevin smiled too casually. "Hey, babe, we got you shrimp." "You went bowling," I said quietly. He blinked. "Oh, yeah. It was kind of spontaneous." My sister popped her head in. "We were gonna bring you later, but then the lane was ready early and the kids were excited." My daughter shrugged. "We thought it'd be more fun to surprise you with stories." I looked at the table. Empty. No one noticed the place settings I'd laid out, the candles I'd burned down to nubs, or the lemon cake sitting cold in the fridge. Kevin handed me a to-go box. "It's your birthday," he said, like that made it better. And for the first time in years, I didn't smile and say, "It's okay." I just looked at them and said, "You forgot me." Silence. Then my sister laughed awkwardly. "We didn't forget. We were planning something." "No," I said. "You planned something without me, on the one day that was supposed to be mine." Kevin tried to speak. I walked past him, up the stairs, closed the bedroom door behind me, and let the quiet wrap around me like a truth I couldn't unsee anymore. The sound of the fridge door opening downstairs was louder than it should have been. I sat at the edge of my bed listening. Clink, foil being peeled back, laughter, Kevin's voice. "She always makes the best lemon cake, huh?" My sister. "At least we didn't miss dessert." I didn't cry. I thought I would. But the tears never came. Just this dull, steady realization pressing against my chest like a stone. They had no idea what they'd done. I stood, pulled an overnight bag from the closet, and opened drawers with practiced, quiet hands. Not dramatic, not stomping, just done. I folded clothes like I was folding time, tucking away each overlooked dinner, each maybe next time, each birthday wish that never made it past a group text with no reply. In the mirror, I caught my reflection, still in the tank top I wore under the dress, mascara faintly smudged under one eye. But my face was calm, clear, like someone who had finally stopped hoping for something that wasn't coming. Downstairs, the sound of forks tapping on plates cut through the silence. I zipped the bag slowly, walked to the hallway closet, grabbed my sneakers, then paused. Opened the drawer beside the door where I kept envelopes, cards for birthdays, anniversaries, and all the occasions no one else remembered. I pulled out the one I had written to myself, a small lavender card with silver script. "To me, on my birthday." I'd written it that morning. It said, "You try so hard. You love so deeply. You deserve people who see you. Today is not wasted. It is a step. I folded the card and placed it in my bag, then opened the door and walked downstairs. Kevin looked up from his slice of cake, mouth still full. Hey, where you going? I didn't answer. I walked past the kitchen table, past the crumbs and the empty glasses, past the people who had once called this a surprise for me. My sister stood, her expression flickering from confusion to concern. Wait, are you upset? I turned back, hand on the doorknob. You ate my cake, I said quietly. Kevin frowned. You made it for the family. No, I said, voice sharper now. I made it for me, for once. And you weren't supposed to eat it like it belonged to you. My daughter looked down at her plate. Kevin stood. Okay, let's not blow this out of... I held up a hand. This was my birthday, and you forgot me. Then you came home and sat at my table and ate what I made for myself, as if nothing happened. And that tells me everything I need to know. They all went silent. I opened the door. Kevin followed me outside. Where are you even going? A hotel, I said. Someplace quiet. Someplace where no one pretends I'm invisible. He stepped forward. Come on, babe, you're overreacting. That word, overreacting, burned hotter than anything else. I turned to him. I've spent years shrinking myself, skipping celebrations, being okay with scraps of affection because I didn't want to seem ungrateful. But I am done pretending that crumbs are enough. He blinked. I got in the car, started the engine, and drove. I checked into a quiet little inn 30 minutes away. The woman at the front desk smiled as she handed me the key. Celebrating something? She asked. Yes, I said. She looked up. Myself. I didn't cry that night. I read. I watched a movie. I ate a slice of leftover lemon cake I'd secretly stashed in my bag before I left. My peace. And when I finally lay down in bed, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Because leaving wasn't just about a birthday. It was about not being the only one who remembered I mattered. The next morning, I woke to birdsong and light filtering through linen curtains. No alarm, no voices, no one asking where their socks were or what was for breakfast. Just silence. Gentle, clean, unpressured silence. I sat up slowly, savoring it. Checked the time. 7:42 a.m. Normally by this hour, I'd be halfway through dishes, emails, and a grocery list someone else dictated. But today I reached for the hotel's breakfast menu and ordered French toast and hot coffee to my room. It arrived 15 minutes later. Warm, beautifully plated, with a single flower in a tiny glass vase. I sat cross-legged on the bed, tray in my lap, and ate every bite without interruption. Then I looked at my phone. 4 messages, all from my daughter. 6:58 a.m. Mom, are you okay? 7:05 a.m. I'm sorry for eating your cake. 7:15 a.m. Dad says you just need time. Can you text me when you're ready? 7:37 a.m. PLs? I stared at the screen. I didn't feel angry, not even tired, just resolute. So I placed the phone face down and turned it off because I didn't leave for silence. I left for space, and I wasn't done taking it yet. After breakfast, I took a walk. There was a park a block away with tall pines and winding gravel trails. I let myself wander, hands in my pockets, watching an elderly couple feed birds near a bench. The woman had the same tired, lovely eyes my grandmother once had. She looked up, smiled at me. I smiled back, and I wondered how long it had been since I looked at someone, anyone, and didn't feel like I owed them something. By noon, I sat in a little cafe downtown, sipping mint tea and reading a paperback I'd brought but never cracked open. It felt radical, how easy it was to be alone. Not lonely, alone. There's a difference. Lonely is waiting by the window for people who forget you. Alone is choosing yourself even when no one else does. And I was finally choosing. Back at the inn, I ran a bath, poured in too much lavender oil, and sank into the warmth with no guilt, no apologies. I thought about all the years I'd made excuses for them. They forgot because they're busy. They're kids. They don't understand. He means well. He's just distracted. But understanding doesn't equal acceptance. And forgiveness doesn't mean returning to the same hurt on repeat. At some point, silence isn't noble. It's self-erasure. I stayed in the water until it cooled, and even then, I didn't rush out. That evening, I ordered room service again. Sat on the patio wrapped in a hotel robe, watching the sun sink behind old oaks. When I finally turned my phone back on, I didn't feel anxious. Just ready. There were more texts now, some from Kevin. We need to talk. You can't just run away from your family. The kids are worried. And one more from my daughter. Mom, can we talk just you and me? That one, I replied to. Not with a full conversation, just 5 words. Not yet, but I see you. Because I did. She was trying, and I would meet her there, but on my terms. Not because I owed them my time, but because I had reclaimed it. And now I was choosing who could share it. I was sitting in the inn's lounge, a soft jazz playlist humming through the speakers, sipping coffee and writing in a journal I hadn't touched in years. I saw him through the window, his car pulling into the small parking lot, the slam of the door, his familiar, frustrated stride. He looked around, unsure of where to start, then spotted me through the glass. I didn't flinch. I didn't wave. I simply placed my pen down and waited. He walked in like he was stepping into a boardroom, overconfident and uninvited. "Hey," he said, his voice too loud for the quiet room. "Kevin?" I said, nodding. He sat across from me without asking. "We need to talk." I folded my hands in my lap. "About?" He blinked, confused by my calm. "You disappearing like that." The kids were worried. I was worried. I tilted my head. "Were you?" He leaned forward. "Look, I get it. We screwed up. The surprise didn't go as planned. But walking out like that? Come on. You're overreacting." There it was. That word again. Overreacting. Like the depth of my hurt was just a performance for attention. I said nothing. Kevin frowned. "Don't give me the silent treatment now." "I'm here. I'm trying to fix this." I took a breath and spoke softly. "Fix what, Kevin? The cake? The fact that I sat alone on my birthday while you all posted about how much fun you were having without me?" He opened his mouth, but I didn't let him speak yet. "Do you know how many birthdays I've spent making sure everyone else felt loved? Yours, the kids, your mothers, even your coworkers at those weird potlucks. I went out of my way to make everyone feel seen." He looked down. "And when it was finally my turn," I continued, "you left. You didn't just forget. You made plans without me. And when you got home, you ate the cake I made for myself and called it a misunderstanding." Silence stretched between us. "You're not overreacting," he said, almost too late. "I didn't see it like that. That's the problem, Kevin. You don't see me." I stood up and walked past him. He followed me to the lobby entrance. "So what? You're just going to stay gone?" "I didn't leave to punish anyone," I said. "I left to hear myself think." He exhaled sharply. "What do you want from me?" "I don't want anything right now," I said, "because I'm not here to fix how you feel about what happened. I'm here to feel how I should have let myself feel a long time ago." He took a step closer. "Can we at least talk later? When you're ready?" I nodded once. "Maybe, but not today." Then I turned and walked back toward the lounge. He didn't follow, and I didn't look back. That evening, I sat on the same patio with the same cup of tea and watched the sky blush into purple. The silence around me wasn't empty. It was honest. He had called it overreacting because it was easier than reflecting, easier than facing the truth that love, without effort or awareness, becomes neglect in nicer clothing. But I didn't need to convince him anymore. I wasn't here to be understood. I was here to understand myself, and in that stillness, I realized my silence wasn't punishment. It was protection. Not for him, for me. I returned home a week later, not because I missed them, not because they asked me to, but because I was ready, and that made all the difference. The house looked exactly as I'd left it. Blanket thrown over the back of the couch, a pile of shoes in the hallway, mail stacked sideways on the kitchen counter like it couldn't figure out where it belonged. But something in the air was different. Quieter, almost cautious. Kevin was in the kitchen, setting down his phone when I walked in. His face lit up for a split second. Relief, maybe. But he didn't rush toward me. He didn't try to fix it with hugs or flowers or apologies wrapped in noise. Good. I didn't want noise. I wanted change. My daughter peeked around the corner. "Hi, Mom." "Hi, sweetheart." She stepped into the kitchen slowly, eyes searching mine. "Can I show you something?" I nodded. She led me to the dining table. A single slice of lemon cake sat on a plate. One candle. No fanfare. But beside it, a card in her handwriting. "I didn't know what you needed. I still don't. But I'm trying to learn. Happy birthday, even if it's late." I swallowed hard. "Thank you," I said, my voice barely holding. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she whispered. "I know," I said, "and I appreciate you saying it." Kevin stood quietly behind us, uncertain. I turned to him. "I need things to be different." He nodded. "I mean actually different?" I continued. "Not let's go back to normal. Normal is what made me leave." His jaw tightened, but he didn't interrupt. "You've relied on me to hold everything together while making me feel invisible. And I went along with it because I didn't think I deserved more. But I do." He nodded again, slower this time. "You do. I need time to see if this space can still be a home for me, not just a place where I do everything for everyone else." His eyes were wet now. "I'll do the work. I'll watch," I said. Not cruel, just honest. Because trust doesn't rebuild itself with promises, it rebuilds with patterns. The days that followed weren't magical. There were awkward silences, half-finished conversations, missteps and hesitations. But there was effort. My daughter started helping with dinner. Kevin began asking questions instead of making assumptions. And me? I started doing things for myself, small, deliberate things. I joined a writing group. I blocked out time every Sunday afternoon just for me. No chores, no errands, no exceptions. And I left the lemon cake slice on the kitchen counter for 3 days. Not to prove a point, just to remind myself that my time, my joy, and my presence weren't disposable anymore. One night, Kevin came into the living room holding a notebook. "I made a list," he said. "A list? Of everything I didn't see before. Of the things you've done for us that I took for granted. And the things I need to start doing without being asked." I took the notebook and read the first few lines. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And for the first time in a long time, I believed maybe we could rebuild something. Not because I stayed silent, but because I finally spoke. On the last page, he'd written, "I used to think your strength meant you didn't need support. Now I know your strength was carrying what I refused to hold." That's when I cried. Not because I was hurt, but because I was healing. My birthday came and went with no party, no big surprise, just a quiet house, a family trying, and a woman finally seen, on her terms.